Good. All right. So good evening and welcome, everybody. Really pleased that everybody was able to make some time in your busy schedules to learn about a very special river cruise company called AmaWaterways and a very specific opportunity to come sail with us, literally with Susan and me. So as we begin, I want you to know that for the moment, if you want to choose to be on mute, you can be on mute, but if you want to chime in quickly, you can keep yourself off. But as Laurie mentioned a couple of seconds ago, that we'll answer questions towards the end of the presentation if you've not asked them in the middle of it. So as we prepare to talk about river cruising, it's really important to keep in mind that the world of travel is rather quickly opening up, and it's becoming less complicated in terms of restrictions and protocols, testing requirements, and so on and so on. And so I'll suggest to you that whenever you plan to travel, that you'll really need to concentrate on three basic P's. First P is a plan, starting with a travel wish. Second, you need partners like me and like AmaWaterways who can expertly craft your vacations. And three, you're going to need some protection in the form of travel insurance to safeguard your investment. So I also want to commend to everyone that now is exactly the right time to at least be thinking about how you want to travel and where you want to go and when you want to go, because as the world is opening up, things are really exploding. And there are many places near and far that are really going to have their best travel years ever, with especially those destinations that are deemed safe. So if you travel with Susan and me in September, I guarantee you're going to be getting all three of those P's that I just mentioned. And I can also tell you that, and Laurie will do the same with river cruising in particular, where the capacity of the ships is already pretty small to begin with, and with lots of very loyal repeat river cruising guests who weren't able to travel at all in 2020 or even in the first half of this year, that people are really chomping at the bit to get back on the rivers later this summer and this fall. So this is something that it's kind of time to act now. 2022 is going to be a banner year for river cruising, and they're even taking bookings into 2023. This is the first time that bookings have opened up for 2 years from now, this early in the season. So believe me, the demand is there. So as I say, now's at least the time to start putting your travel dreams into a plan of action. And I welcome the opportunity to have those conversations with you and to help you make sure that all the components of the trip are fully explored and understood. So now as we turn specifically to AmaWaterways and to help us understand more about this really great company and how differentiated it is from big ship, or otherwise known as mass market cruising, and how Ama is different from other river cruising companies, ones whose names you may have heard more frequently. I'm very happy to introduce to you Laurie Smith, my partner at AmaWaterways. She's a wonderful person and a great source of knowledge. And so, Laurie, if you'll just take a moment to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you came into the travel industry and how long you've been with Ama, and then you can take us on our sip and sail.
Absolutely. Thank you, Philip. Thank you. And it's a pleasure to work with you too. A new partnership, but nonetheless, just a pleasure to work with you. So I started my career pretty much like Philip did, almost, oh goodness, I'm going to date myself, 30 years ago. And I was an advisor, and I had never traveled on a river cruise, didn't know what river cruising was until I was hired by a river cruise company, not this one. I came on the supplier side. So almost 14 years ago, I came on the supplier side, worked for a land operator, then moved to the river cruise industry. And I will not move anywhere else. This is my home. The culture of the company is fantastic. We're privately held, and you'll see our owners in just a bit. But I'm from South Louisiana. I'm from Lafayette originally. I have children in London. My grandbabies reside in London, and one child here, and my daughter, who is in Lafayette, is getting married in October. So she's the baby. So family scattered everywhere, but moved for a job. My husband and I both moved for this job, and I'm very happy to be in Houston, but ready to get back to a little bit cooler climate. I call this my concrete jungle, to tell you the honest truth, but we hope to maybe move a little bit further up north, but I still have at least 10 years before I retire. So I love actually AmaWaterways. It's been a fantastic ride so far. The 3.5 short months, not new to river cruising, but new to Ama. So let's get started with the company, our fabulous company. We're family owned and operated, and that's really important for you to know the culture of the company. I know that Gary met with Philip and I, and he's wonderful. I actually sold Brendan Tours. His father, Jimmy, started the company with Rudy and Christine. Rudy actually started a couple of other river cruise lines and said, you know, I really want to own and operate my own. So he and Christine are married now. Excuse me, my sinuses are dripping. And it's been a fantastic partnership. You know, Christine is the heart of the company. She truly is a beautiful person inside and out. And you'll see these owners with hands-on. Sometimes you'll see them on board. So I cannot wait to experience the Ama difference. I talk about it so much, but there is a beautiful difference, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. So before we start the presentation, but just a little bit about our vessels. We have 25 vessels. We own and operate all of them, so they're all paid for. As Rudy says, I can sleep at night. There's no debt on our vessels. And I think moving forward in post-COVID, that's going to be a very big component of the partnerships that we have moving forward. We will christen 2 new vessels this year, the Lucia and the Sienna. You're going to be on the Prima. I'll show you a picture of the Prima, but this is our fleet. We only do river cruising, and we only sell through our fabulous partners with Ama. So no direct, you have to go through Philip because you want to. He talked about those 3 Ps, and they're very, very important. But think about this. Oceans take you to countries, and rivers take you right through them. It's like this. This is actually a picture of the Rhine. So if you were in a helicopter maneuvering the Rhine, this is what it looks like. The scenery on both sides, river on both sides. Remember, the Romans navigated these rivers. So there's a lot of history and culture, a lot of medieval villages. We dock right there, close, walking distance to the port, which makes it fantastic. You can hop on and off. You use this vessel as a floating hotel. So what's included with Ama? So beer and wine with meals, with lunch and dinner. You can partake in champagne yoga if you'd like. We do have a wellness host on board, but also your staterooms. We only carry on the Prima 162 passengers. So that in itself, we're much smaller. And there's a lot of space. You have this top deck. You have French and double balconies. So it's French and full verandas you can choose from. We have a lot of space on board because remember, 152 passengers, these are quite large vessels. So it makes it very, very nice. And packing and unpacking only one time, but going to sometimes 5 and 6 countries. We do welcome our solo travelers, which is we're not going to charge you 200%. It's going to be 1.25%. And of course, onboard entertainment, not to mention all of your excursions are included. So up to a choice of 6 excursions in each destination. And remember, you can explore on your own. We're in port between 8 and 16 hours a day, sometimes more, sometimes a little less, depending on where we are. So there's plenty of time for you to take your excursion. And remember, you have a choice of 6. You can be very active, taking hiking and biking trips, or you can go with our gentle walkers or regular walkers. It's up to you. And remember, this is your vacation. I want you to explore the destination. That's the beauty of river cruising. We have you docked right there along the city center, and you just walk on and off as you please. So it makes it nice for you to enjoy your trip. No hurry, hustle and bustle, but you get to see everything. And especially the foods of the destination. We'll talk about the food, the beer, and the wine. So this is a sip and sail. So cheers to all of you that have a beverage. But we break the groups, the 162 passengers, into smaller groups for the excursions. Now remember, because we have small groups, we have our gentle walkers, regular walkers, active walkers, late risers. And trust me, you may want to take advantage of the late risers tour. It's breakfast till 10 and maybe sleep in. I normally hit it very, very hard the first 4 or 5 days. And then by the 5th day, I'm exhausted. And I'll say, I need to just sleep in one morning. You can certainly do that and not miss a thing, so maybe you partake in that late breakfast, or maybe champagne yoga. It's up to you. So we do break our groups into, and then we have a wellness host on board. So your active walkers, your hikers, your biking through the villages, that is all broken down. So sometimes our groups are 8 people, sometimes they're 20 people. Maybe, not everyone wants to go wine tasting. That is totally up to you. So we're known for our twin balcony. And this is a twin balcony ship. You're on the Prima, and this happens to be in Passau on the Danube. The Danube, I was telling Philip earlier, these rivers are very, very different. They have their own personalities. The Main River and the Rhine River are very, very different, but very similar. You'll see castles and cathedrals and all along the riverway. But as you can see here, there's tributaries that you can take a walking path or a smaller canal cruise, especially in France. We do go under bridges. We go through locks. I was talking about the lock system. On this journey, you may go through about 8, normally 17 locks. You'll go through about 8 or 9 locks. And that is the lock system that controls the tributaries, but also the crops in the vineyards, because they pull from the rivers and they have full authority to do that. So we go through the lock system. It's not like, in South America, the dams, but it does operate like that. And it's very neat to see. Normally we're going through these at night. So you may have to, but we'll announce if we're going through the lock system, and everybody runs to the top deck to look. If you have a French balcony, just keep your hands in, because we're very close to those walls. But it's very interesting, and it uses the systems of the lock system. So the water goes up and down, just like you would if you were in Panama. So I'm going to take you on board now of our beautiful vessels. We do have an elevator that goes from top to bottom, but the sun deck, you normally have to take a stairway like this. So very easy to get up. Truly, I take the stairs as much as I can, because I eat my way through these itineraries. How can you not? I mean, the local beers and the wines and the delicacies on board, it's just incredible. So I try to eat my way through, and you'll see a lot of my pictures have food in them. But these are our beautiful lobbies. And of course, take the stairs, don't take the stairs, it's up to you. But we do have an elevator. So we do have a complimentary sip and sail cocktail hour. And that's why this is called a sip and sail. An hour and a half before dinner, you have the opportunity to come all together and just talk about your day. Because remember, we have so many choices for excursions. Not everyone's doing the same thing. You may blow off everything and say, there's this shop that I looked at online. I want to make sure that we go and spend some time there, or maybe have lunch at one of the beautiful cafes along the way and have some beautiful Rieslings on this itinerary. So we do have our sip and sail, and normally we'll have a cocktail of the day, or you can have anything you'd like. We serve champagne, we have cocktails, we have beer and wine if you want to stick with that. And then of course at mealtime, you have these fabulous wines that we offer during lunch and dinner, and of course our beers. So entertainment. So after dinner, you may choose to, it depends on what time we're sailing out, you may choose to go back in the destination and maybe take a stroll along the river way and just walk off your food. It's nice to do that. Or you're going to go in the lounge. We have piano player, we have a three-piece string, we have entertainment. Sometimes we bring entertainment from the destination. So there's always something going on, and we do have tapas and light sandwiches and extra, tea and coffees, a coffee station, a self-serve coffee station, so you can help yourself. But we do have entertainment that we bring on board, and it could be in this lounge. I mean, this is where you have it. You've got a dance floor, a small dance floor if you want to dance till 1 o'clock in the morning, but it's a great time. You'll notice that river cruising just brings passengers together. You'll meet friends and colleagues and whoever you travel with. You'll always meet those other passengers. They're like-minded. They love mingling. Every time I'm on board, I always want to sit with a different group because it's just fun learning about everyone's backgrounds, and we keep in contact. We have 6 couples. My very first cruise that I went with, we had 6 couples, and we still take cruises together, and from all over, East Coast, West Coast. So it's really, really nice. And those are long-time friendships. So you've got your core group, and then it's always nice to meet other couples that are like-minded on cruises. I hear that a lot. So the food on board is incredible. We're part of Le Chant de Rôtissière, which is a gastronomy membership. And Rudy happens to be a member, so all of our fleet is part of this. Some very, very special, it's a very special membership. So we do have our locally and sourced food that we bring on board, farmers market. We never freeze anything, so it's all fresh. And also all of our breads and pastries are baked on board, which is incredible because some of my competitors buy it and reheat it on board. So you're always having the fresh of the fresh, which brings me to the chef's table. So this is we can accommodate 24 guests at a time, and it is a pairing of wine and multi-courses. We have 9 courses, and they're very small, but it's very intimate, and it's an experience. You can dine with the captain, sometimes our cruise manager, depending on where we are. And normally passengers will only dine once or twice here. The menu doesn't change because it is a tasting menu. So part of the Le Chant de Rôtissière menu is incredible. It is incredible. So this is an experience in itself, and it's all complimentary. There's no cost to it. So remember, I talked about you can take yourself off of mute, and if you want to, you can ask questions. Feel free to ask questions. And then the main restaurant. This is where you're going to have all of your meals, and it's wonderful service, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But remember, don't feel bad if you maybe eat breakfast or lunch and you find this fabulous restaurant you want to try in the destination. It's all about the destination. We're here for after your excursion, and then maybe you want to eat lunch on board and then run out into the destination, maybe have coffee or a beer or wine when you get off. It's up to you, totally up to you. We're docked close enough where you can hop on and off and walk to most of the attractions. And then our sun deck, I absolutely love. This is the best place to scenic sail because we do have a portion that we do scenic sail, and that's about 16, 17 mile stretch, and it's nothing but castles. It's a great spot for you to have a great glass of wine or a beer, or just enjoy the outside. Hopefully it's a beautiful day, which at this time it will be. We do have a beauty salon. We have pedis and manis and massages. You can book that on board. And of course, our fitness area. I know some of you are saying, nope, don't want to exercise on my vacation. This is my vacation. No worries. We do have a wellness host that will be the escort on our bicycle and hikes, just to, so you know, a familiar, in case you can't make it all the way, we'll send a bus to get your bike. But we do carry bikes on board, and everyone stays a little bit active. We do have some guests that say, you know what, I started doing champagne yoga and on board, and now I am in yoga classes. So you never know, it could be a lifestyle change for you if you wanted to. We do have a heated pool and a swim up bar. I hope you're not in this unless we are scenic sailing, because there's so much beauty to see in the destination. You want to make sure that you're seeing everything, and then using this as when we're scenic sailing. This is the middle of the road categories. This is our twin balconies, and this is what we're known for. So you've got a French balcony, and a French balcony is one on the right-hand side that you actually will open up, and you can't walk out because we've got that railing. And then you'll see the chairs here on the left-hand side of a veranda that you can sit out on your veranda. So it makes it spacious. Maybe you want to sit inside and just open the door a little bit, have that air conditioning, if it depends on the weather. I like it cold. I love opening my door and getting that fresh air, especially around Christmas markets or even September, because it's going to get a little chilly around that time in August and September. It starts to get to a fall weather, and the colors will be changing. But this is what the view looks like. The gentleman that's in that chair, that is the view. And even more, that probably is a view of the Danube, because the Rhine, you have steeper hills with castles, magnificent castles and vineyards sitting on those castles. But we do have complimentary Wi-Fi on board. It's very good Wi-Fi. And then my Ama app, which will help you with all of your check-in processes, all of your excursions, maybe learn a little bit about the destination that you didn't know. So it's a very, very enhanced app that you can download on your phone, and will probably make you do that before. So we're going to get into the itinerary, and I absolutely love showing you the map of where you're going, because we have different variants of this. So we're going to start in Nuremberg, all the way through Bamberg, Wurzburg, Wortham, Landstein, Cologne, and then into Amsterdam. Your trip will end in Amsterdam. So let's get started with the journey of what you're going to see and do on this fabulous cruise. So we embark in Nuremberg, and Nuremberg, of course, if you come in early, I would highly recommend doing a maybe in Prague extension. We offer 2-night extensions. And if you do the extension with us, we'll transfer you from there to the ship. So once you get into Nuremberg, it's a great walking city. You may even want to take in some World War II history. Of course, Nuremberg has courtroom, the Nazi trials, the documentation center, but the city center, the square, it's fabulous for shops and cafes. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. I absolutely love Nuremberg. The little market, they don't take credit cards in the market sometimes. So you may want to get a little bit of euro to start off with. I normally start with $150 in euro, 150 euro. That is plenty for me to have for bathroom stops or any of the little outside markets that normally don't take credit cards, but most places take credit cards. And of course, there are ATMs everywhere. So just a little bit about, to be prepared. And then we move to Bamberg. I absolutely love, that's the old town hall in the middle of the river. And it's incredible, this old medieval city. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site. You can join a guided walking tour of Old Town Hall. And that is it right there. That's the Old Town Hall, which is incredible. You can indulge in the local flavors. Remember, I talked about I'm going to send you on a gastronomy tour with, this is smoked beer. And I'm a huge fan of all the beers along the Rhine. I absolutely love the Kolsch's, of course, in Cologne, but this is to make the Franconian pork knuckles. They use smoked beer. It's an acquired taste. It's a very dark beer, but when you have a fabulous homemade pretzel, it just goes down very, very well. I can only drink one because it's a very rich dark beer, but you get to have this type of food. I mean, smoked beer, who would ever thought? And of course, the sausages here are fantastic. Or you can hop on let me go back. You can hop on a bike and take a trip along, and it's a little bit hilly, but it's fantastic. You can take a guided bike tour along the Main River, and of course in city center. That evening we'll sail to the Bavarian town of Volkau, and Volkau is a tiny little village. You'll have an evening, a free evening. You can have dinner and then stroll along the streets and visiting the shops and cafes. They stay open late. Fantastic. When I tell you fantastic, it's a fabulous way to really immerse yourself. The village is very small. I think it's 2,000, less than 2,000 inhabitants. Then we sail to Wurzburg. And then Wurzburg, it's nestled along the Romantic Road. And it's in the middle of Germany's largest wine producing region. And as you can see here, the palace, there's the vineyard with the huge vineyards along the way. So you can actually visit the palace, the residence. It's a Baroque palace, and it's another UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is very opulent, and also the Nuremberg fortress, and that dates back to the 13th century. So look at these beautiful manicured gardens. They actually have a vineyard on property, which is incredible. Now here, if you want to get your hiking, you want to get a little bit of exercise, you can hike up to this castle in Wortham, and it really is very opulent. The Gothic architecture, and of course it has the oldest Protestant church. But here you have the castle, and see these stairs going up. It doesn't look steep, but believe me, it's steep. I think it has over 550 steps. So if you want to get your steps in, going up and then coming down is a lot easier. So you'll probably take about 2 or 3 steps on each step. So you have to do the math on that and multiply it. But you can take that castle, the Wortham Castle hike. It's a beautiful medieval castle. You will have an opportunity to go into another medieval town of Middleburg, which I absolutely love, the old market square. It's one of the oldest inns in Germany, the Hotel Zum Riesen. So, or you can opt for the Middleburg Castle. So a lot of castles, you see that theme running through the Rhine. Here you have pretzel baking. They must put something in the dough because these are chewy, they're full, they're salty with a great beer. It's incredible. So we will have an opportunity to go into one of the shops and bake pretzels if you would like. And of course, Middleburg, this is the little medieval town. It feels like time has just stood still. It's just an incredible. A lot of bright colors, but this is the architecture. These buildings have been around, for a very, very long time, medieval times. And then we change to the Rhine River. You were on the Main River, and now we change to the Rhine River. So we are in Rudesheim, right here in Rudesheim. And you really can't tell, it's not a huge difference. Because this is where you're going to have more hilly and vineyards along the hills with those opulent castles also. So you're getting a little bit steeper in the terrain of Rudesheim. A lot of wine tasting. You can cruise, meander through the Main River, and this is when we get onto the captivating Rhine en route to Rudesheim. So you'll have a choice of 3 excursions. You can take a peaceful ride over to the vineyards of Rudolph, and you see that over the gondola. There's a gondola that goes actually over the river. It's quite incredible. Later in the day, or you can take a bike ride through the wine region, which is really incredible. However, I do have to warn you, there are some hills, but we take it very easy and we don't go a very far distance, but it's absolutely beautiful. Biking versus sailing versus walking along the river, these bike paths are wonderful. They're meant for bikes. So we carry bikes on board, and that is really a great thing. So we're going through the Rhine Gorge right now, and the Rhine Gorge, you were going to do about 16, 17 miles. We do narrate all the castles that you will see, and you see right here, Lorelei Rock and the Rhine Gorge. It's just incredible, the scenery along the Rhine. We'll see traffic. You have a lot of commerce on the river, and of course other cruises, but you do see parks and camping along the rivers, because it's really big for clients to do. When it gets a little bit cooler, you won't see so much camping. So there is a book, if it's Rhine Legends, it's by Eugene Hollerbach, and Father Rhine Remembers. It's incredible, and it talks about the Rhine, the locks, the gorges, you know, the length, and so you see that steep terrain there that is all vineyards, and then on one side it's castles. The best place to scenic cruise is going to be on the sun deck. Can't stress that enough. You just want to be at the highest place you can. So out of Rudolph, we're going to Lynette Castle. This is an exclusive with AmaWaterways. It's a 13th century medieval fortress. It was built to protect the town, Oberlandstein, and the silver mine that's nearby. So all of these castles were meant for battles along the Rhine, you know, for protection of the forts and the moats. Very, very different than some of the other castles that we will see along the way. So as we move to Cologne, and I can't stress, this is one of my favorites besides Rudolph. Cologne is, we've got the cathedral, the Dome Cathedral. Remember that you have the three Magi relics that are buried, that are in the Cologne Cathedral. It's a beautiful space. There are 7 interchapels in Cologne, the dome, and around it they found a palace floor that dates back to the Roman times, and it's a complete palace floor. So you can see a lot of the history that they're still excavating and finding artifacts on around the Dome Cathedral. We do a fabulous Kolsch tour, and of course you can only get Kolsch beer in Cologne. And we do a Kolsch tour that we go to 5 or 6 breweries that serves different types of Kolsch, and we have dinner. It's a great tour. It's probably one of my favorites. But in Cologne, we're all docked right there, easy to hop on and off. I absolutely love Cologne. And then we sail to, our last stop, unfortunately, is back to Amsterdam. So I highly recommend extending your stay in Amsterdam. You can do a 2-night, 3-night. There's so much to see and do. 164 canals. You can see these interchangeable canals. Definitely want to do a canal tour. It's a great walking city. I say get lost in Amsterdam. You can't really get lost, but get lost in Amsterdam. Sit in one of the open air cafes or terraces with all the fabulous food. I love to people watch, and there's some great local breweries that you could drink your way through and have a beer tour in Amsterdam. We do have one that we actually do for private groups. But the museums, remember there's 250 art galleries and museums in Amsterdam alone. The Rijksmuseum, that is a must. The Van Gogh Museum, you know, Anne Frank's house. I think I have a picture of that. We did the private tour of Anne Frank's house. I absolutely love the food and the sounds of Amsterdam. It's absolutely beautiful. But remember that the bikes have the right of way. There's 216,000 bikes on the island. And I know that's a lot, but the bikes do have the right of way. And you'll see bikes that are double, they've got they're carrying a carriage, then the kids are pedaling their own bike behind it. It's just incredible. The working men and women, that's how they get to their jobs. So you'll see a lot of bikes along the way, but the canals and the old structures. The red light district, you don't know until you walk through it. I'm originally from Louisiana, so I am not immune to Bourbon Street. It looks like a big Bourbon Street, except a little bit more risque, but the cheese shops are right next door. So you may see a red light district. If it has a red light, that means they're for sale, and then you've got a cheese shop right next door. So there's really no rhyme or reason to it, honestly. But there's your trip, Treasures of the Main and the Rhine. And I hope you enjoyed it. And Philip, if you have any questions, I can see in the chat box if you want to type them in the chat box, or you can certainly, we're a small group, you can certainly unmute yourself. Oop. Go back. Any questions? Everybody.
I have a question. So what's the dress code like for the dinners and things like that?
Very casual. We're very casual, country club casual. There are no beaded gowns or anything. I normally change into a dress. If it's winter, I may change into a sweater or a skirt and put my boots on or something like that, but it's very casual. We just ask that men do not wear jeans in the for dinner. Lunchtime, you'll see some passengers in jeans. But for dinner, we just dress up a little bit more, but it's very country club casual. We want you to be comfortable. That's the beauty of river cruising.
And the excursions, I'm assuming they're first come, first serve. Each some of them are limited in size.
No, not really. We only have a few on the Danube that that would be optional, that you would pay for. But most of these, if everyone decides that day to do a city tour, we'll divide up into small groups, which never happens. And we'll take individual groups, and they're divided into gentle walkers, regular walkers. So they're divided into different groups. So we never have a limit on any excursions that we have, unless they're optionals that you pay for, but there are none on this itinerary.
So like for bikes, I mean, you
bikes, we have 25 bikes on board.
Okay.
So you would, if you know you wanted to bike in every destination, you go to the front desk, you go to our wellness host and you say, I'd like to reserve a bike for every. If we need more bikes, we definitely have bikes vendors along the way that we deal with, but our own personal bikes, we will have a vendor that will get extra bikes for.
Okay. We like the bikes, so.
Yes. Oh, and it's beautiful. I can tell you this one's a little bit more, they're a little bit more hills, but it's wonderful. It's not hard, and we don't go, you can if you want to go from city to city. Sometimes it's only 30 miles from each city, and you can do it along the river banks because these are pedestrian paths. Some are bike paths because there are a lot of bikers in Europe. And they really make way for bicycles. So there's never a bad spot to bike. Just remember, when you get to Amsterdam, they're a little bit more experienced than you are. So you may want to do that. You may want to do a walking tour.
Yeah.
In Amsterdam. Because on going up and down the canals and on the bridges, it's just easier to get around. We do have a bicycle tour that takes you on the outskirts of Amsterdam, which is fantastic. But you probably want to walk in Amsterdam because, I ride a bike a lot, but they're a little bit more experienced because they ride their bikes to work and they are on a bike 24/7. So a little bit more experience, but they do have signs that, you have walkways. You have to, it's like cars. You have to mind the bicycles.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question. I'm assuming room service?
Only in the suites. Only in the suites.
Gotcha. My favorite thing about cruising is breakfast in my room.
Yes,
so, yeah.
yes. or to sleep late and have the whole dining room to yourself. But our staff is so attentive. They'll know your name by the second hour you're there. The staff on board, our people are fantastic, and it really makes your trip. Our customer service levels are incredible, and that's what we're known for.
Well, Mary, I can tell you that there are still some suites left on this particular sailing, so if you'd like to avail yourself of that.
It's a retirement trip, I'm saying.
Absolutely. And you do have service, you have room service in the suites. So yes, yes.
So, Laurie, clearly this is a very inclusive journey. But can you touch on maybe a couple of things that are not included?
Included,
in
okay.
the fare?
So the fare you're going to purchase from Philip, basically an all-inclusive with port charges that are going to be added on to it. And port charges can be anything from 180 to 210, but Philip's going to give you the full price. If you book your air with Ama, you're going to get transfers from the hotel to the ship or the airport to the ship. If you do pre and post, all of that is an additional charge, of course, the pre and post extensions. While you're on board, any cocktails that you want outside of mealtime or a sip and sail would be an additional charge. And our cocktails are not very expensive. I mean, a Crown and 7 could be, $4. I mean, we're not there to charge you an exorbitant amount for cocktails. Wines, these are all upgraded wines. You're not going to have to pay for upgraded wines because they're already upgraded wines. So really, that's about it. Money that you need in the destination, anything that you're going to purchase. Sometimes you can mail things back. So, but really everything is included. Gratuities, you're going to want to tip your as a whole. Mostly it's going to be $12 to $14 per person per day. And that goes to everyone. Or you can tip as you like. You can tip your maitre d', you can tip the captain, any way that you want to do it. So basically that's it. That's all you will need to have. Along the European rivers, for the ladies, you may want to take some euros and coins because the public bathrooms do charge. So you're going to need to.
I remember being in Rome and thinking, what? Oh no.
But our guides are very good at, there's always, public restrooms when we get to our excursions, maybe one of the castles, you'll have your guides will show you the free bathrooms all the time. But, I take off on my own and I need, I drink a lot of beer and drink a lot of water and, so bottled water, all of that is included when you go on your tours. So really that's just about it. That's all the hidden expenses. There's really nothing besides what you pay for your journey.
Are you assuming that most COVID restrictions will be lifted by then? Or, will people need to be vaccinated to participate, or what's the...
Mary, we haven't rolled out. I have a meeting tomorrow actually, and we are going to talk about the rollout. Some of our competitors have already rolled out. The biggest fear I think Rudy had was the executive team was to set a date and have to pull it back. I know that I spoke to Philip about this, but we did have a successful sales season in 2020. We have part charters and charters, and we chartered with a German tour operator with just German passengers last year. And we sailed from June to November with protocols in place, meaning mask mandate, pretty much like if you were going here, you had to wear your mask. And when you sat down in the lounge or having a drink, you didn't have to have a mask. All of our air filtration system, this is nothing new for us. We've always had where each individual room, each individual public space has its own filtration system that pushes air out instead of inward, and really sanitizing luggage, temperature checks. We had to do that last year. We don't know. Internally, they know, I'm sure by this time, because my meeting's tomorrow, we'll know exactly what the EU is requiring. So any protocols from the European Union, but remember, each country has been granted their own restrictions. So we have plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G behind the scenes that we will, when we implement our first sale date, you will know.
Right. Okay.
You
I
will.
work in infectious disease. These are the questions I ask, you know.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I totally understand. And I wish I had, you know, we moved 1,300 passengers last year with no COVID incidences. So we know how to do it if we had to do it. We feel like we have a leg up from our competitors because they are coming out of the gate having to, you know, do all of this. So, you know, some of our ships have been outfitted with panels between we have less passengers on board. It makes very, very nice. We probably will not go out of the gate completely full. We don't know if there are going to be passenger restrictions on how many passengers we can have. I do feel sorry for my big guys, the big ocean guys that have to really put in place these protocols. But there are going to be protocols, we know that, but we're just waiting to see what it's going to be. So we'll let Philip know, and we'll let you know as soon as we know.
Okay.
Yeah, just everybody keep in mind that that the world is absolutely starving for American travelers. And so they are going to make things as easy as possible so that they can capture your presence and your euros, your dollars, almost anywhere you go over the next several months. I think you're going to see easing of policies and restrictions rather than tightening of protocols.
Yeah,
So, I mean, they'll make them more defined, but I don't think we're going to see things getting worse. I think we'll see things getting better.
Correct. And, you know, it really depends on the country that we're visiting. And that's going to be, we may open up certain areas before certain areas. That has been talked about. I can tell you, Rudy is not a big fan of having everyone vaccinated. It may be a requirement that we will have to have everyone vaccinated. Just being very transparent with you. You know, he wanted to leave that up to individuals. However, the EU may have a totally different, you know, take on it and their protocols. It just depends. But I can tell you that the phones are crazy. They've been like this since the first of the year. I mean, it's been, when are we sailing? When are we sailing? And the world, we can see the movement, and it feels great. It feels great to be part of a bigger picture. And, you know, it feels great that we can actually, you know, get on product. My children live in London, and they're feeling the effects of being able to move around more freely. However, I have a compromised granddaughter that will have to have open heart surgery when they get here. But, you know, I think everyone will do what they have to do. I'd have gotten twice if it could mean that I would be able to travel. So, you know,
you know, you stay on the boat and you look at beautiful scenery for 7 days, and, you know, whatever.
No, and that's the big factor of why we have not come out with a sale date. We need to make sure that you are getting the experience that you're paying for. And that's a big, you know, reason why we have not moved forward with what we want to. We've got to make sure that that experience is what you've paid for, because it is the experience that, you know, river cruising is about.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining. Any other questions that I can answer about the itinerary? I love the Rhine, as you can see. I love the Rhine. I eat and drink my way through. It's one of those places that you definitely want to do that.
Unfortunately, there aren't many places that I don't want to eat and drink my way through.
Me too.
I want to make pretzels and drink Kolsch.
Now, what is Kolsch?
Kolsch beer?
It's a type of beer, but it's only made in a certain region, just like champagne. You know, champagne is not champagne unless it comes from the Champagne region. So Kolsch beer is, and the tour is fantastic. You go to so many little pubs, and the glasses are this big. So you think you've had 2 or 3. a note to yourself, there are coasters from the, restaurants. You need to put your coaster on top of your glass when you are done.
Sounds
And then,
like Ireland.
yes, they do tap the keg at 7:30 in the morning. And that was my first experience. And she kept bringing me more beer. And the little German on the side of me, said, put your coaster. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's how the beer stopped. So
if I've got my beers right and my memory serves right, it's sort of like a Pilsner.
Yes, very light, goes down very easy. So be careful.
Yeah.
Now the smoked beer, that's a totally different, it's very,
I want to try that too.
it's an IPA. It's really thick and rich, but it's so tasty. It's unbelievable. And that tastes good with a pretzel too. So I haven't met a beer I do not like. So I'm a very beer connoisseur in along the way. And if you get to Prague, Munich, Oktoberfest will be close. The date that you have, Philip, is September
7 to 14.
Yeah, a little bit early. And of course, Oktoberfest was put on hold and till next year. So, but that doesn't stop a lot of places from, I know it's not going to stop a lot of places from celebrating it, just because it's not in Munich, or, there are going to be a lot of celebrations of Oktoberfest.
One other quick question as it relates to flights. What is your recommendation on timing of booking air for a September trip?
Well, now if they book, you probably need to book that air, because we will be contracting as soon as we make a start date. We will be contracting that air, and we have contracted air. We're hoping that a lot of these directs will come back. I know y'all are all from New Orleans. I think you may have some connections. Mary, you're in Birmingham. Okay. You're closer to Atlanta. Maybe you're going to have some directs. It may be a little bit different. So we're getting those contracts. They're coming in furiously, and the air is working through those. So we do have some good lift. And of course, they're waiting for that European market to open back up. So,
and basically what contract air means is that AmaWaterways buys air tickets in bulk from the airlines. And so oftentimes they're able to provide the airfare for their cruises at better rates than what the airlines are publishing.
Yes.
So they're basically buying air at a wholesale price,
yes,
and then packaging it with the sailing so that you can achieve some pretty good savings.
absolutely.
Booking air off of American or Delta's published fares, which change on a moment by moment basis.
Absolutely. But if you want to fly Delta and you want to fly, their partners, international carriers, you can tell Philip, and we'll put you, we'll see if we have a contract, we'll give you the pricing. Of course, any of your upgrades, any of your, some of that bulk air, you'll earn some miles, you'll earn all miles. If it's a bulk ticket, sometimes they limit the miles. I've earned half my miles. It just depends. Or, Philip can just go directly and contract that air. Some people use points. It's up to you. However you want to work it. I would highly recommend doing some pre and post extensions, especially if we haven't traveled in 2020 and 2021. We're seeing back-to-backs. Maybe you get off the Rhine and you do a France itinerary, just to spend that time. If you've got the ticket, you're going over the pond, you're spending that time.
Like, oh yeah, we'll have the time and we're already there.
I know. And Mary, you already said you are retiring in 15 days. Oh my gosh. Okay. So
July 23rd.
Just a month later. So
Yeah.
I can see a back-to-back, and we're doing those right now because, Mary, it really, passengers, or they haven't traveled in a while, they really want to travel. So they're adding some back-to-backs on, and you're getting additional savings if you book another one on top of that. And, Philip, we have an app that reservation uses that matches these completely with a France itinerary, or maybe even a Danube itinerary, and you can spend some time in between. So you may really need to think about that. That could be a very good trip for you. Retirement trip.
I think we earned it.
So we are nearly at the top of the hour. And
Yes.
Laurie, really appreciate all of
You're welcome.
your
Thank
knowledge,
you.
expertise, and the way you were able to present what I think is a really nice itinerary. And at this stage, I welcome any offline questions. Happy to put together any pricing for you. There are a number of different cabin types that are available for this particular sailing. Or if this time frame doesn't work for you, but you're interested in AmaWaterways, we can look at some other options for you as well.
Absolutely.
But in general, I really want to thank everybody for your time, for your interest, for your enthusiasm, and hopefully we can work together on this. Maybe
Fantastic. Have a great night.
If
Have a
you
great
want to
night.
sail with me, sail with Susan.
Congratulations, Mary and your spouse.
Both my husband, Roland.
Roland, congratulations, congratulations. Everyone have a great night, and it was great to see you. Contact Philip.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thanks, Laurie.
Thank you.